And so, as we gather today, we remember that the land we now call Toronto and Ontario is the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe nations, and the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, the first peoples of this land. Today, we remember that the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee were matrilineal, and that the Anishinaabe regarded women, especially women of a certain age at the other end of the spectrum, as Mindi Moya, those who hold community together. For the gifts of the first people, for their care of Mother Earth, and for their generosity, we give thanks.
From his bedroll on the temple floor, he looked up at the lamp of God burning still. He knew the story of himself and of his mother, how his mother's life had been full of ridicule and remorse, until, that is, God remembered. Before conception, she'd promised him to God. So when the time came, she brought him to this place and left him in another's care. He was 3 when she said goodbye. He'd see her next in a year's time, and again a year after that. In those early days and weeks, he found that lamp to be comforting, consoling nightlight. Now older and bigger, that lamp watched over him as he learnt to hear God call, Samuel, Samuel, then learnt to answer, here I am.
Today we remember Jesus' words. How often I've ached to embrace you, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you wouldn't let me. You didn't want that. You were not willing. You would never have it. May you feel the peace-filled embrace of Christ. May we share that peace together. And so, my friends, the peace of Christ be with you. Would you gently greet one another in love?
So this is my idea, and you're a little nervous because it's my idea. But last Sunday, I noticed just how relaxed people seemed sitting in chairs. In the ancient world, teachers sat and listeners stood. Now, I suspect that made for shorter sermons. You might want to think about that. Mother's Day is, as we've said, a great day and a complicated day. The Bible is full of great stories that are also complicated stories because they're stories of real people and real lives. So we thought we'd give you storyteller and teacher today, and we'll read through the story. But as we go through the story, I'll add my little scholarly comments, many of which are not mine, they're Robert Alter's, but what a teacher needs to know is from whom and when to borrow. So the story is, as you might have guessed from lighting the Christ lamp, Hannah and Samuel. Most of it is Hannah without Samuel, and the story begins like this. You know, traditional stories often have threes in them. This one turns out to have 3 beginnings. And there was a man from Ramathaim Zophim, from the high country of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, son of Jehoram, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Ziph, an Ephraimite.
Nigel. I thought this was to be about women.
Yeah, two things. So, culturally, remember PEI? When you could ask somebody at a funeral how they were related to the deceased. And they would say, his great-grandfather and my great-grandfather were cousins. You have to know that stuff. So here it is.
Oh.
Wait. Also, this is going to stand that story on its head. Okay? Stories have tropes and traditions.
You should speak into the mic.
Stories have tropes and traditions. You know that picture in our bedroom where I'm holding Adriel's hand and she's like 18 months and we're by a stream and it's in the Alleghenies? Okay. What you don't see in that picture is a little further upstream is a bridge. All she wanted to do was to go over the wooden bridge with me, going trip, trap, trip, trap. Who's that going over my bridge? It's I, the big Billy Goat Gruff. Okay. So we have once upon a time stories in our culture. They had stories that began, once upon a time there was a man. Why don't you take over the story?
I think I will. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man would go up from his town year after year to worship and to sacrifice to the Lord of armies at Shiloh. And when the day came round, Elkanah would sacrifice and give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and to all of her sons and daughters. And to Hannah, he would give 1 double portion, for Hannah he loved. And the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival would torment her sorely, so as to provoke her, because the Lord had closed up her womb. And thus was it done year after year. When she would go up to the house of the Lord, the other would torment her, and she would weep, and she would not eat.
I don't like the scholarly having the pulpit, but we'll adjust. So, you know those stories, these kind of stories. 1 man, more than 1 wife, 1 loved but childless, 1 not loved but childbearing. That's Abraham and Sarah and Hagar. It's Jacob and Leah and Rachel and their maidservants. Maid Margaret Atwood, a lot of money, that kind of arrangement. The Quran says that you may have more than 1 wife, but you must treat them equally. It's very hard to treat 2 wives equally when one is the one you love but childless and the other has children. Year after year, they would go up to Shiloh. Year after year, the cycle of disappointment, despair, torment continues. The Hebrew for year after year is Shana Beshana. You say it slowly, it sounds like one big sigh. Bana Beshana. Year after year. It's a cycle of torment. But the cycle's about to be broken. That's going to stand the story on its head. This year, it will be different. Remember that line from Slow Horses that goes, "It's not the hope that kills you, it's knowing the hope that kills you, that kills you." Nevertheless, Elkanah and Peninnah and Hannah go to Shiloh. And this year, it might just be different. The cycle may change.
So the story continues. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, "Hannah, why do you weep, and why do you not eat? And why is your heart so afflicted? Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" And Hannah...
I'm going to look at the guys in the choir for a minute. Now, I know as a guy, I want to give this guy, "Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" I want to give him an A for effort and F for the result. Robert Alter calls this a double-edged poignancy. You know, he wants to tell her just how much he loves her, but he hasn't a clue what it's like for her. So he boldly says, "Am I not better to you than 10 sons?" Oh, Hannah says nothing to him. She simply gets up and walks out.
Can I read my next part now? And Hannah arose after the eating in Shiloh and after the drinking, while Eli the priest was sitting on a chair by the doorpost of the Lord's temple, which wasn't a big temple, but it was a tent, just so you get the picture straight. And you need to speak into the mic more clearly.
Okay, I will reluctantly not look at you then.
Okay.
So culturally, in this story, what you are supposed to get next is some sort of annunciation of a birth. Okay? Abraham goes out of the tent in the middle of the night, and God says, "Look at the stars, look at the sand, it's going to happen." And Abraham says, "Sure," but then a little while later, he laughs. And then the 3 visitors come to the Oaks at Mamre. And this time, Abram is told it's going to happen. And Sarah hears and laughs because it's impossible. You're supposed to get, at this point in the story, an angelic visitor or some sort of oracular announcement from somebody. It's going to happen. Hagar, who's part of that story, is driven into the wilderness by Sarah with her understandable jealousy. And there an angel appears to Hagar and says, "The child you carry will be fine." Listen to this. This happened not much before the story of Hannah and Samuel. Note the way it begins. "And there was a man from Zorah, from the clan of Danite, and his name was Manoah, and his woman, was barren. She had borne no child. And a messenger of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, "Look, pray, you are barren and have borne no child, but you shall conceive and bear a son. And now guard yourself, pray, and drink no wine or strong drink, and eat nothing unclean. For you are about to conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall touch his head, for the lad shall be a Nazarite of God from the womb."
That's interesting. I'm going to continue with my story. And Hannah was deeply embittered, and she prayed to the Lord, weeping all the while. And she vowed a vow and said, "Lord of armies, if you really will look on your servant's woe and remember me, and forget not your servant, and give your servant male seed, I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head."
Now, Eli, you said, is sitting outside by the doorpost of the tent. He has a role he's supposed to play now. He's supposed to be the oracle. He's supposed to say, "You shall conceive," but he doesn't.
Hannah gets better as you go on in the story, by the way, so just listen. "And it happened as she went on with her prayer before the Lord, with Eli watching her mouth, as Hannah was speaking in her heart, her lips alone moving and her voice not heard. Eli thought she was drunk. That's a man. And Eli said to her, 'How long will you go on drunk, Hannah? Rid yourself of your wine.' And Hannah answered and said..."
Can I say something?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so this is the second man in the story that doesn't get it. In fact, he fails miserably. He's supposed to be the high priest in Shiloh. He gives no word from God. He's got no insight into the situation, the time, the place, the need, and most importantly, into Hannah's heart. Now, well into the 4th century of the Common Era, nobody read silently. They read out loud. So the fact that she is not praying out loud, but keeping her words to herself, that might excuse Eli a little bit, but not much.
So Hannah answered and said, "No, my lord. A bleak-spirited woman I am. Neither wine nor strong drink have I drank, but I have poured out my heart to the Lord. Think not your servant a worthless girl, for out of my great trouble and torment I have spoken till now." And Eli answered, and Eli said, "Go in peace. And may the God of Israel grant your petition which you asked of him." And she said, "May your servant but find favor in your eyes."
I don't think Eli did very well in the pastoral care courses. He fails her again. He assures her that the God of Israel will answer her prayer, but he's no clue what the prayer is. He doesn't ask her, so what is this trouble and torment out of which you pray? He's taken no pains to know what she petitioned. And he doesn't seem that impressed by her trouble and torment that we know has gone on and on and on, year after year, shana by shana. So it's no wonder that it ends with a formula. He says, "Go and may the God of Israel do unto you." And she says, may your servant find favor in your eyes. It's like, sorry for your loss, right? It's what you say, but it doesn't convey very much at all.
And the woman went on her way, and she ate, and her face was no longer downcast. And they rose early in the morning and bowed before the Lord and returned and came to their home in Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Lord remembered her. And it happened at the turn of the year that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Samuel, for from the Lord I asked for him.
That yearly cycle is about to change, because it's at the turn of the year that she conceives. This year is going to be different. The cycle's been changed because the Lord remembered.
And the man Elkanah with all his household went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his votive pledge. But Hannah did not go up, for she had said to her husband, "Till the lad is weaned, then I will bring him, and we will see the Lord's presence, and he shall stay there always." And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, "Hannah, do what is right in your eyes. Stay till you wean him. Only may the Lord fulfill what your mouth has uttered." And the woman stayed and nursed her son till she had weaned him.
What I like about this part of the story is Hannah's agency emerging. In that part where God is supposed to show up or send a messenger and tell you that you're going to conceive and doesn't, Hannah begins to take hold of the reins of her life and prays that prayer. Now she says, "I'm not going up this year." That cycle of year by year by year going. I'm not going. Do what is right in your eyes. That doesn't quite cover, am I not as much to you as 10 sons? But it moves us in the right direction, I think. Do what is right in your eyes. Usually you were weaned when you were around 3. That's how old Samuel was when we lit the lamp. But you could also do it at 4 and at 5. And a lot of people suggest that Hannah, I was going to say drag this out, but Hannah enjoyed this for as long as possible. This intimate connection with this one whom she'd promised. So Samuel's probably 4 or 5 before he was taken to Shiloh.
And she took him up with her when she weaned him with a 3-year-old bull and 1 ephah of flour and a jar of wine. And she brought him to the house of the Lord. And the lad was but a lad. And they slaughtered the bull, and they brought the lad to Eli. And she said to Eli, "Please, my Lord, by your life, I am the woman who was poised by you here praying to the Lord. For this lad I prayed, and the Lord granted me my petition, and I asked of him. And I, on my part, granted him for the asking to the Lord. All his days he is lent to the Lord." And she bowed there to the Lord.
So it's not just agency that comes to this story, to Hannah. It's equality. Remember, the story begins with Elkanah taking the family. You read, she took him up with her when she had weaned him, and she brought him to the house of the Lord. And there's some equality. They make the sacrifice. The word I like the most in here is poised. When I was poised praying. Poising and praying seem to me to go very well together. In the paraphrase of Romans 8, Judy read to us last Sunday, it talks about creation being on tiptoe, waiting. That's poised. However hard it was for Hannah to pray, she was poised. She was waiting. She was ready. I've got a bit more, but that's enough.
And Elkanah went to Ramah, to his home, while the land was ministering to the Lord in the presence of Eli, the priest.
So it doesn't say that Hannah went back, though I'm sure she did. Just that Elkanah went back. I think that just means that it was easier for Elkanah to go home and leave Samuel than it was for Hannah.
Mm-hmm. So, the story's about to end. And Samuel was ministering in the presence of the Lord, a lad girt in linen ephod, and a little cloak would his mother make him, and would bring up to him year after year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and would say, "May the Lord bestow on you seed from this woman in place of the loan she has lent to the Lord." And they would go back to their place. For the Lord singled out Hannah, and she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the lad Samuel grew up with the Lord. And the lad Samuel was growing in goodness with both the Lord and with men.
It turned out it was quite good for me to be standing here because I can see Eleanor. And I know that Eleanor's looked up there a number of times, hoping that that slide is going to change. So let me reassure you, Eleanor, that's the reading and 95% of the reflection.
No.
I'm just getting ready.
So the one little thing I wanted to reflect on with you, and maybe we won't reflect on it that much, we'll kind of leave it for others to reflect on.
Very quickly, yes.
Very quickly. So we make decisions all the time as church, as preachers, as people who select the music, as people who come in through the doors and sit in the pews. We make decisions all the time. Whose stories belong here? Whose stories don't belong here? Is this an un-Sunday morning story? Am I an un-Sunday morning person sometimes? Fred Kahn has a line in a hymn about the strain of living interwoven. I conducted a funeral yesterday and began by saying that human beings are complex, and to that complexity we add our own complications. What stories belong? What can be told? What can be said? What can be acknowledged? It doesn't help to hold your breath, to clench your fist, to hang on tight. Let go. Freely have you been given. Freely give.
On this Mother's Day, be present to all who celebrate with joy. Cradle all who mourn or know regrets. Accompany those yearning to be mothers and those who sometimes find the task to be overwhelming. Help us to heal from broken family relationships and open us that we might receive and give your nurturing love to one another. Like a mother hen,
gather all in your embrace. On your mother's lap, you received homage and gifts from kings. Then you fled with her, refugees, fearing for your lives. May your presence be known by mothers who walk from place to place, searching for food and water, by the mothers who shelter their children in tents, by the mothers who fear for their own safety and the safety of their daughters. Like a mother hen,
gather all in your embrace. Babe and boy, boy and man, you were mothered and ministered to by women. We thank you for the mothers of the church, for Tabitha, for Monica, for Julian, for Claire, for Teresa, for Dorothy, and for those whom we name in the silence of our hearts. Mother and God.
remembering now how you ache to embrace us.
We turn to you as children turn to a resourceful and resilient mother, as children look to a gentle and nurturing father. May your name be hallowed, may your rule come, may your will be done on earth as in heaven. Forgive us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. and deliver us from the time of trial, and deliver us from evil. For the rule, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.
A has-to-be-made announcement. The polity of the United Church, even in an age of email, has determined that notice from the pulpit of an annual congregational meeting must be delivered fully 2 Sundays before the annual meeting. So this is the first of those Sundays. The annual meeting takes place on Sunday, May the 24th at 11:30 a.m. So I guess Gina and I are on notice, 11:30 a.m. And by strange, happy coincidence, that Sunday is also Pentecost. So it's probably a good Sunday to be the church and to speaking tongues and have all kinds of shenanigans. While I have the mic, if you've read the greetings, you'll know about the moose hide campaign. These are the moose hides, and when you look at them, you can get a lot of these out of a moose. These are yours for the having. They're ways of indicating that you are prayerfully and actively aware of the dangers that Indigenous women and girls continue to face. Jean and I are going down to a gathering at Queen's Park on Thursday morning. If you would like to come with us, you can do that. We're meeting at the subway. Details are in the greetings. I'll be standing there after the service. If you want one of these, come and get it. If you think you're going down with us, there's a sheet that you can put your name on so that 5 minutes after we left, you don't show up at the subway and we don't go together. So, annual meeting, May 24th, this on the 14th, Thursday, but you can wear them anytime and all the time. Doesn't help to hold your breath. Relax. Breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. There. You're getting it.
You thought it would be claustrophobic, didn't you? Claustrophobic, overheated, stifling, way too intense beneath the press of these feathery wings.
But these are the feathers of God's love, and their press and pressure are only what's required for us to register that love. Nothing more and nothing less.
Go then in that love. Go then in that love. Amen.